This is round 6 of MSXC called the Hideout, which was down in Tompkinsville, Kentucky. I'm in Super Senior C, row 23 here starting out. It's only 39 degrees, but a lot better weather conditions than we had at the Glacier Run. So the sun's out. I wore a black shirt, trying to keep warm. Much better start this time. We had just watched 22 other rows start and fall up here on this first left turn, so I take it easy going through this section so we don't repeat the same error. Yeah, all of us learned. That's one thing about being a super senior. You learn from experience there, so almost every other row fell on that first left turn. Up ahead of me is my buddy Paul on his Husqvarna. I think it's a FE 350. Just figure I'll follow him for a bit. First little dip here. I actually did real well here on this first lap, which is all I'm going to show for this video, is just my first lap, but I think I screwed that up every other lap. A lot of guys struggling to get up that hill, kind of slick, greasy. This was a really nice trail. I guess it had never been raced before from what I understand, and a lot of elevation, just a lot of interesting terrain. The creek and the pond and the high hills. So I don't know it yet, but I'm running in 4th place. The 3rd place guy is right there ahead of me in the Honda. That's Jackson. It's CRF 250. And so I pretty much decided I'm just going to follow him for a bit, because I figured that would be a pretty good pace, because he normally gets 3rd. First and 2nd place guys would be really hard for me to catch. Great having all the energy during your first lap. You actually pass some people, stuff like that I don't normally do. What we missed there was a right turn to go up the pro hill, so we're taking the option to do the youth hill instead of the pro hill. I never did go up the pro hill during this race. It just looked awfully steep. It's off to my right. You'll see the guys coming up out of the pro hill up here ahead of me. A lot of rock, a lot of root. Still keeping Jackson in my sights, which is my plan. That's holding together right now, but I'll tell you, it doesn't last a whole lot longer. We get some guys in between us. Yeah, Jackson's starting to pull away. And it's not just because I'm behind slower riders. He's really starts to pick up speed through this. The more kind of twisty and turny it gets, the more he excels. I keep up better with him on the open spaces. roots are pretty gnarly here. That's one thing about this virgin terrain. There's just really no trails really beat down yet, so a lot of this you can tell is pretty tight. Never really sure when I can open it up because I'm not really sure when my handlebars are going to fit between the trees. I did a little bit of tuning on my bike since last race. I got a lot of comments that it sounded like it was running lean, had kind of a lean idle, so I richened it up quite a bit. I do think the idle sounds a little bit better. It's a little high, but I think it doesn't have that lean pop to it. At least not as much. I did notice a lack of fuel economy, though. I definitely richened up a bit. I noticed it in terms of how much fuel I had at the end. This race has about 3 downhills in it that I really did not like. That one back a little bit was the first one. It wasn't too bad. It gets worse. I'm much more confident on the hill climbs than these downhills. That's something I need to get better at. I think part of the problem is growing up, I grew up on 4-strokes, and I'm just not used to not having any type of engine braking. So you just got to use the brakes on these downhills, and I'd rather just be able to drop it in first gear or just some lower gear and maintain a speed. Another kind of downhill here. That one's not so bad. I've read up on some different techniques for the steep downhills, and I tried a couple of them. I don't know if I did it on this first lap or not. I'll have to see when we get there. But I tried the Graham Jarvis method of just holding the kill switch down and just basically making some engine braking happen by not having the engine running. I mean, the engine still is moving because the clutch isn't disengaged, but it kind of just keeps it at a low RPM. Deep ruts there. A guy wants to get around me, though. I think I did a better job this race using the kind of little banks to bank up against on the turns. Unfortunately, I forgot to start my lap timer at the start of the race. I didn't do it until I went through the first lap, so it's hard for me to sync up exactly where I am in terms of the first lap. Okay, here's one of the downhills that's marked with an X for danger. It looks like this time I just try to use my brakes and go for it with the clutch in, which is not a good method, I don't think. Just not getting any help with the engine in that way. So I think clutch engaged is the way to go. Rocky uphill. Again, a lot of good elevation here. This was a nice track. A little bit of everything. And with the sun out, the 39 degrees, it really was very comfortable. Bit of slop. Passed by my buddy on a beta. We'll see him again. Some foreshadowing. Seems like I got a pretty good angle on my GoPro mount because you're actually able to appreciate some of this elevation. Oftentimes you really can't tell. I'm really starting to feel pretty good about myself. I haven't fallen. Been fairly aggressive. Feel like I'm making pretty good time, even though I lost Jackson way back, but I haven't had anything just hold me up. Now here's another one of these downhills. Let's see how I do this time. I kill it. Now this is the line I took every single time on this hill. I didn't see other people doing it, but there was a right turn over there I missed because I just basically lose control of the bike, so I just go straight and then I get back in. And I did that every single time. I did 5 laps. I did that every single time with not much trouble. I felt like that was the safest way of doing that descent. like I said, I'm feeling pretty good. Here's my beta buddy. Oh. Yeah, I wondered why I caught up with him again. So this is a place where, it being cold out, it just really catches you by surprise. There was nothing there indicating it was slick. It didn't look any different. But about 3 of us wiped out right there in the same section. And talking to other guys after the race, it took out many a guy. So it was just one of those places that the sun hadn't hit hard enough and got it dried out. There was also some stone underneath there, and I think the stone made it slick. Some rock. Like I said, a little bit of everything. Got the creek section. Now another big challenge for this course is coming up here, and this is this left turn climbing up out of this creek. And I did it pretty well on every lap, including this one, except for like, I think it was my 4th lap. I had trouble right there. I just kind of took a straight line up off the course a little bit. If you tried to kind of do the off camber and stay right on the course coming out is when a lot of people would lose it. Yeah, I think when I fell, my camera got messed up a little bit. I'm not seeing my front fender anymore. Yes, I can tell I'm getting close to the end of the first lap as I saw the road back there, but then they take us back through some pretty nasty mud here coming up. This was so bad on the last lap of the course. There was 2 four-wheel drive four-wheelers just parked here ready to help pull guys out. It was still pretty passable this early in the race. Different gear, I think. That guy coming up out of the right, I couldn't figure out where he was coming from, but then later in the race I figured out what that line was and kind of avoided that uphill path I just took. It was a better line. starting to slow down here. I'm not really sure why. I don't think I'm that tired, but I guess I'm letting some guys go by. But we're kind of get back into the tight technical, or not so much technical, but just kind of tight turny stuff, and it's just kind of hard to guess when you're going to get out of that and be able to open it up. So I'm guessing some of these faster guys that are passing me here near the end of the first lap are guys that have already done a lap, so they're actually lapping me. Like I said, I did 5 laps. I think some of the pros actually did like 8 laps. So they would have passed me 3 times. Yeah. We're just slow lappers here. I always have trouble finding neutral except when I'm wanting to hit second. I will say I'm still really happy with this IRC M5B Evo rear tire I'm running. A lot of places, as you've seen, there's guys having trouble on hills, and I'm just not having that trouble. And this tire is far from new. I'd say this is probably my 5th or 6th race with it. It's definitely got the edge worn off of it, but it's still doing a good job. Alright, now we're back down to the road. Run it on out here across some mud, and then they put a little jump in for us before we pass the finish line. So that was the photo op, but I checked all the pictures and I never saw one of me doing the jump. Here it is. This should show me in 4th place, which is as I reviewed the lap times, which is where I was after every lap. So finished 4th behind Jackson. It was a good race. Glad I came out. Thanks for MSXC for putting it on. A really good time. Everybody stay safe out there. Have a good one.